sketched a design out in 1922, and he said to his engineers, I want a car that is light, powerful, agile and fast. And this is what they came up with. He sketched a rough idea of it, and if you look at the design of the chassis, very light up here, strong down here where it carries the weight, it's broad. The front axle is interesting. It's a steel forging. Everybody here is an engineer. It's forged with a steam hammer, and it's hollow all the way through. Now, how did they do it? They got a big billet of steel. They turned down the middle of it. They drilled a hole right through it. They left a big lump on the end of it like a lifting weights. And then they stuck it under the steam hammer and made that shape with the steam hammer. And if you look at the end of the axle, you can see a little pinhole in the end where the whole pin's been hammered down. Now, his other innovative performance was these wheels. Remember I talked about the light wheels? These are the first, I hate saying mag, they're alloy wheels. And why did he make them alloy? For lightness, to keep them light. And when he made the first ones in 1922, they were great for the first short race. For the long race, they melted the rubber on the tyres because they got so hot, the brakes got hot. So all he did was to, if you look at those big broad spokes, they've got about a 7-degree angle on them. And that picks up airflow as they're racing through the air and blows air over the fluted brake drums to keep it cool. Now, if George, you've got to turn it around, you can see the brake drum is mounted integrally with the wheels. Oh. It's still alloy and it's got a steel liner inside it so that it doesn't wear as much as the alloy. And when the big problem in many long races was that you wear out the tyres and you had to pull in and take all the four wheels off, change tyres and change the brake shoes and do the whole works. It took a long time. In a big car like the 98, it would take a half an hour because only two people could work, the driver and the mechanic. So what Bugatti said, well, we're going to put knock-on wheels. Here they are. The mechanic gets out. He invented that over-square jack that you see him using today, where you stick it under the front wheels, just pull it down, the whole thing comes up. He invented that. So one guy gets out, lifts that up, the other goes bang, 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 takes the wheel off. The brake drum comes off too. And then they turn around and pick up a new wheel with a new tyre and a small diameter brake drum. A smaller diameter. Why? Because he put double thickness shoes on the brake shoes. So that you wore half of them down and halfway through the race you take the wheel off, put a new one on with a smaller diameter, just go straight on, bang, knock it up, in and out in about 5 minutes. Now that was just one of the things. This is magneto ignition. In most cases the old cars had magnetos driven down here on the front of the engine where it got covered in mud and slush and rain and all that sort of stuff. And that doesn't well pull. No, he's electrical engineer. Mud and slush and rain don't go well with magnetos, electrical things. So Bugatti said, no, I'm going to put it up here in the dashboard and drive it off the back of the crankshaft. Oh, you can't do that. Will not work. You know, too much vibration. And he said, no. So he's got two little hard leather universals in there to take away the vibration. Well, Andrew knows how many races that, along with George, how many Bugattis have won. More races than any other car in the world. Thousands of them. 1,000 Grand Prix races. There you go. Unbelievable. Now, that's just some of the things he's done. This is where we're going to start. Oh, the crankshaft, by the way, for the engineering mind, is made up of 58 pieces. It's got roller bearing big ends, roller bearing mains. And you've got to put them together. Now, you've got to get them oiled properly before you start. So, have you cranked it 11 times this morning, George?
Not yet, no.
Not yet, all right.
We're starting from scratch.
All right, starting from scratch. What we've got to do is, first of all, George has already pumped up pressure in the fuel tank, and that forces fuel through to the carburetor. He's got a little pump over on the side. The mechanic used to do that. And then you've got to crank it 11. Are you going to do it, crank it?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
He's going around there. So I've got to issue instructions here. Crank it 11 times, and that means it gets the oil pump going, and it pumps oil through into the crankshaft and all the other little bearings that it has to pump it through. So there we go, we're pumping the oil through, getting it primed, and then we're going to have to warm it up for probably a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get the whole thing working properly. And once it's properly warmed up, then George will come round here and he will see this little lever here. When you see George bend over here, and I'll nod to you, that's when it's going to make a hell of a big noise. It'll run a bit for a while. When he comes over here to do that, then you've got to put your hands over your ears if you want to really hear, or switch off your hearing aid. So here we go. People say, oh, why has it got extra plugs over here? You've got 8 cylinders. Now, what happened yet for a while? Those are hard plugs and soft plugs. You start them up on one set of plugs because the clearances are fairly open in these things, and oil sloshes around. You can oil the plug up, and then you put the hard plugs in when you want to race, and away she goes. All right, here we go. Yep. I'll get out of his way because he's going to run like hell when he gets it. When she starts to fire, he's got to go and grab something. This car, there you can see him breaking the lap record at Eastern Creek up there in that little picture of the blue car. And he's not bad for 82, is he? He still keeps going. I can say that because I'm old. Nearly. I'm not going to touch it. There's not that much compression in there because it's supercharged. That big thing on the side is a supercharger. And the supercharger, for those of you who don't quite know, it's like a big pump. And it forces more petrol and air mixture into the cylinders than ordinary sucking of it does. enough to drive